Assalamualaikum Warahmatullahi Wabarakatuh. Okay, guys, we are from Group 1. We'll explain about language in use. So, in this chapter, there are 6 submaterial. The first is pragmatic, the second is natural and conventional sign, the third is linguistic sign, the fourth utterance and sentence, the five prosody, and the last is nonverbal communication. Okay, let's check this out in the first part or the first material. Okay, pragmatic. So, what is pragmatic? Pragmatic is another branch of linguistic concern with meaning. We know the pragmatic or semantics is like same because this branch of linguistic, the both are concerned with the meaning. But the both of it is different. Semantic is mainly concerned with a speaker competence to use the language system, introduce meaningful utterance and processing, comprehending those products by other. But in pragmatic is concerned with a person's ability to derive meaning from a specific kind of speech situation, to recognize what the speaker is referring to relate new information to what has gone before, to interpret what is said from background knowledge about the speaker and the topic of discourse, and to infer or fill in information that the speaker takes for granted and doesn't bother to say.
My name is Siti Filzatul Haziyah. I will give you an explanation about natural and conventional signs. Language is a system of symbols through which people communicate. The symbols may be spoken, written, or signed with the hands. Language is only one of the common activities of a society. The totality of common activities, institutions, and beliefs make up the culture of that society. Language is a complex system of symbols or signs that are shared by members of a community. It will be useful to consider other signs that we know and how we react to them. All sorts of signs, sounds, and smells can be natural signs. They communicate to someone who observes and can interpret, but their messages are unintentional. Unlike natural signs, conventional signs have human senders as well as human receiver. Each one has an intention and an interpretation. The next is the process of getting information. The first one is perception, the second is identification, and the third is interpretation. Oke, contoh yang pertama, yang perception itu contohnya misal kita sedang berkendara dalam sebuah jalan raya. Di jalan raya tersebut ada sebuah lampu lalu lintas. Lampu lalu lintas memiliki 3 warna, yaitu merah, kuning, dan hijau. Pada saat itu, lampu merah menyala. Pada saat tersebut, otak kita tahu bahwa itu yang menyala lampu merah. Mata kita juga melihat yang menyala itu lampu merah. Setelah itu, proses selanjutnya yaitu identification. Dalam proses ini, otak kita mencerna, mengidentifikasi. Ini yang menyala lampu merah, berarti apa yang harus kita lakukan? Apa yang harus kita lakukan apabila lampu yang berwarna merah tersebut menyala? Setelah itu, interpretation. Interpretation ini kita melakukan aksi dari apa yang kita pahami dari identification. kita sudah mengidentifikasi bahwa yang menyala lampu merah. Berarti yang kita harus lakukan apa? Yang kita harus lakukan adalah berhenti. Jadi kita melakukan sebuah aksi dari proses identifikasi tersebut, yaitu berhenti. Seperti itu.
Linguistic signs. Words are linguistic signs, similar in certain respect to natural and conventional signs. They don't have meaning but rather are capable of conveying meanings to those who can perceive, identify, and interpret. Okay, let's consider the method of perceptions, identifications, and interpretation with respect to language use. In order to grasp what somebody says, we must first of all perceive the utterance, hear a spoken utterance, see a written one. So, a linguistic sign is a sign to convey information so that it is communicative. When we hear a phrase, now the meaning of the words and sentences formed by the word, we may still not fully understand what is being said because we don't know what this is about. For successful communication, we as listeners must correctly interpret some of the information we get from what has been said before or discourse context, and from the speaker's knowledge and an understanding of the condition and circumstances in the environment or social physical context. As listeners, we must edit what we hear, separating pauses, filters, and repetition from the gist of the message. Thus, although we can perceive a spoken message without hearing it or perceptions, our knowledge of language allows us to distinguish between what communicates and what is not. The listeners also not only understand the context of the speaker is saying, but also must understand the context of the conversations, whether the speaker is joking, serious, or sarcastic.
After we read in the PPT, the meaning of utterance is a natural unit of speech bounded by breaths or pauses, and utterance is a complete unit of talk bounded by the speaker's silence. An utterance is any sound of talk that human produce. The characteristics of utterance are it is spoken, physical even, and maybe grammatical or not. Remember, utterance do not focus on the grammatical aspect, meaningful or meaningless, and then by specific person in particular action, by specific time or on particular occasion. A piece of language, a single phrase, or even a single word. Example of two-word utterance. Look here, paper cup, my bottle, and cooked carrot. To differentiate utterance and sentence, we usually use quotation mark titik dua atas itu ya, in written form of utterance. For example, a piece of utterance that is spoken by certain person. I'm a student. Gitu. And then the meaning of sentence is an important component of a general account of linguistic meaning. Studying it raises important issues about finding relevant data, about the relationship between data and theories, about the use of institution or as data. It also raises questions about the notion of compositionally and about the interaction of separate components of linguistic knowledge and linguistic theory. Sentence meaning is a difficult subject which can be introduced gently, beginning with an overall sketch of what a theory of linguistic meaning needs to account for, namely how an initial linguistically encoded semantic representation leads to an overall interpretation of an utterance in context. Linguistic semantics aim to account for what is linguistically encoded, while a pragmatic theory will explain how more detailed interpretations are derived on the basis of semantic representation.
My name Hamdi Ria Firstiawan. I'm going to explain about prosody. Prosody is combination about intonation and accent. We produce all our spoken utterances with a melody or intonation. Intonation is by changing the speed with which the vocal bands in the throat vibrate. We produce rising or falling pitch or combination of rise and fall. And accent is by making one syllable in a sentence group, especially loud and long, usually where the change of pitch occurs. The next, in general, as Alan chapter 5, a falling tone suggests that the speaker is confident of what he or she is saying and the utterance is delivered with finally. Naturally, individual speakers differ. Some are more effortive in their speech, others more attuned to the feeling of the address. Jadi, secara alami, individual speaker differ, mengucapkan intonasi tegas dan lembut itu tergantung feelingnya. And then have the some verbal material. Number 1, statement versus question. Yes. Statement. This is the place. Question. This is the place. Number 2, information search versus repetition question. Information search. When? Where? When? Where? Number 3, parallel structure versus antithesis. Parallel structure. This is my sister, Ellen. Antithesis. This is my sister, Ellen. Number 4, open question versus alternative question. Open question. Do you have a pencil or pen? Alternative question. Do you have a pencil or a pen? Number 5, full statement versus reversion. That's true. Or that's true. Reverse version. That's true.
nonverbal communication. A. Paralanguage, ways of using the voice that they may be expressive, communicative. In a secondary sense include laughing, giggling, crying, which need not accompany an utterance, whisper, falsetto, a quavering or breaking voice, and other elements that are vocal but not verbal. The relative loudness or softness of the voice, high or low pitch, the modulation of pitch from a near monotone to an exaggerated rising and falling, a nasal quality, a rasping sound, the tempo of speech. B. Gestures. There are visible signs, which have a standard, shared meaning, and there are elements of appearance, body language, which possibly create an effect on the observer and therefore on the interpretation of a spoken message.
Okay, this is all from us. Thanks for watching. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.